All right, time for SNL. Myself, Cody Stutes, Landry Locker on vacation this week. So you got me all week long. We got a fun project for SNL all week long. So you don't want to miss out on any of the shows each and every day live at 4 p.m. right here on the SNL channel. Of course, subscribe to the Locker Room, Landry's channel, and my channel, Cody Stutes as well. So appreciate everybody jumping in. For what I wanted to do this week, I thought there'd be a fun exercise as it's just me with Landry on vacation. I wanted to do 25 questions for the 25 season this week for the Houston Texans. So over the course of the week, we'll go through these 25 questions about the 25 season and kind of discern where we are on the Texans here in the middle of this fine year of 2025. Now, some of these questions will be more important as the season gets here. Some of these questions will fall off in the level of importance as other things move up, but I've put together 25 questions, 5 each day over the 5 days of the week that we're going to get to. We'll take your questions, comments, joys, and concerns in the middle as well. Appreciate everybody watching in the comment section live, in the comment section after the fact as well. Let's start with this. And the thumbnail has you leading towards a Kamari Lassiter question to start this. So let's start with Kamari Lassiter, because I was really thinking about what Kamari Lassiter put together last year. What does he have in store as an encore in 2025? What can one of the best rookies in 2024 do in 2025? And I would say, just simply, if Kamari Lassiter was the exact same player, I feel like I would take it. I feel like I really would. If he was the exact same guy in 2025 that he was in 2024, I would take it, because it seems to me most people believe and understand Lassiter was one of the best rookies and certainly one of the best rookie cornerbacks in football last year. But I don't know that people truly understand just how good Kamari Lassiter was last year. And that's Kamari Lassiter who gets targeted more because the guy's not throwing at Derek Stingley all the time. That was a big conversation point about Kamari Lassiter versus some of the other rookies. It's like, well, he didn't get thrown at. He got thrown at more than some of these other rookies because you're not throwing at Derek Stingley. So I want to kind of read you some of the stuff that Kamari Lassiter put together over the course of last year. He allowed a 67.2 passer rating in 2025. That was really good. Kamari Lassiter had, I think it was a top 30 passer rating allowed. It was one of the better ones amongst the rookies in the rookie class. And it was only 9 points worse in a passer rating allowed than Patrick Surtain, who was the defensive player of the year. Lassiter is very, very good, but passer rating is not everything. How about the advanced stat from NFL's advanced stats and NFL film room of catch rate allowed over expected? So the amount of throws that went Kamari Lassiter's way that people expected to be caught below that rate, so negative is good, below that rate, how did he do? Well, how about negative 11.5% on catch rate over expected allowed? That's second among qualified cornerbacks in football. Not qualified rookie cornerbacks, not all defensive back, qualified cornerbacks. It's second in the NFL. Negative 11.5%. That means that over time of the 2024 season, more than 10% of the times the wide receiver was expected to catch it, Kamari Lassiter did not allow a catch in that play. Now, that was good, and I thought that was pretty good, but then I got to the catch percentage, which kind of goes hand in hand with catch rate allowed, but the catch percentage, 45.6% of the passes that went at Kamari Lassiter ended up in a catch. You know how good that was? Best among qualified cornerbacks. Best among qualified cornerbacks. He allowed less than 50% of completions when he was targeted in 2024. And on third down, he allowed 33.3% of catches, which is an incredible number. Lassiter was awesome last year. So as you think about Kamari Lassiter in 2025, what can he put on for an encore? You see how much he puts in the offseason with the workout videos. He looks like a bigger player. heading into 2025. And then the way he talks about how he now understands things, how he's more aware of what the expectations are, playing the position. And you think about how difficult cornerback is. Cornerback and tight end, two of the positions that are the most difficult positions to play as a rookie. And he was that good, and now he understands it a little bit better. I mean, woohoo! Come on now. 2025 for Kamari Lassiter could be huge. We may have an incredible encore on the way in 2025, watching Kamari Lassiter play at the cornerback spot. Because, oh, by the way, this defensive line is going to get the ball out fast. They're not going to challenge Derek Stingley. They're going to have to challenge Kamari Lassiter. He may make the most of it as well. So plenty to like about what Kamari Lassiter can bring to the table here in 2025. Get to some of the other questions here. 4 more questions of the day. A couple more on defense, a couple of offensive ones. I even slipped in a special teams one for you, but I want to take care of the folks here in the comment section. Super chats, of course, always go to the front of the line. And Rich Boy Jay has one, the super chat for the day. Thoughts on the Kevin Durant trade? So the Rockets over the weekend trading Kevin Durant, or trading for Kevin Durant, trading away Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the 10th round pick this year, and 5 second-round picks to the Phoenix Suns, and they're going to get Kevin Durant when the league year becomes official. I guess July 6th is when that's going to be official. But KD to the Rockets, I love it. Jalen Green wasn't getting it done. I didn't like Jalen Green, never felt like he was a player that was ever going to ascend to the level that the Rockets needed. Didn't believe in his consistency, didn't believe in his talent. And to get a player like Kevin Durant, who doesn't play as much basketball as he used to, that's okay. You need Kevin Durant for the playoff run. You need a guy that can go out there and make shots, and it opens up a little bit of a logjam to play some of the players there on the bench and the depth. They did not trade anything away of great, tremendous value, which also allows them to go out and do something else in the middle of the year if things aren't working out the way they have. So I love the Kevin Durant trade for the Rockets. So appreciate you asking, Rich Boy J. Appreciate the super chat as well. So, what do you think about Kamari Lassiter 2025? Because he was excellent in 2024, and I knew he was good in 2024. But as I kind of dug into the stats, the advanced stats, I kind of remembered what went on in 2024. I got really excited about what 2025 can bring to the table. So, I'm pretty interested to see what people think of Kamari Lassiter. Jerome Kicks, I like Lassiter, but thank God for some of the overthrows, because Brian Thomas and A.D. Mitchell killed him on some of them plays. Could have been big TD plays. Could have been. Maybe the quarterback has to overthrow because Lassiter was in such good coverage. There were some just flat-out misses last year. Kamari did have some moments where guys got him, and maybe he's going to eliminate those things heading into the 2025 season. Just some of those technique or being aware of what the other guy's going to do. Jerome always got himself a little bit of a negative lean. Mike Roberts says, Lassiter should have won Defensive Rookie of the Year, and if not him, Kalen Bullock. But no, a guy with 4.5 sacks won it because he plays in L.A. Well, look, Lassiter and Bullock, excellent in a lot of the advanced stats when it comes to the secondary. In the ball hawk percentage, Kalen Bullock was the best in football last year, according to NFL's advanced stats amongst qualified safeties. So both those guys very good. The Texans got 2 really nice players there in that 2024 draft and had really nice rookie seasons for them. And if they build on that, then they're going to be in a good spot. All right, let's go to question number 2 here. Question number 2. What can Will Anderson achieve this season? 25 questions for the 25 season this week here. About the Houston Texans. What can Will Anderson achieve this season? Now, Anderson was obviously great as a rookie. He was the Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was incredible. He was a force in pass rush. He was excellent in stopping the run. And then he came into the 2024 season. He was even better. He increased his sack total. He's one of the most consistent quarterback pressure defensive linemen in all of football. I believe he finished 5th in quarterback pressure. I think the total hurries were a little bit further down. But what can Will Anderson achieve this season? Can he become the Defensive Player of the Year? He's already won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Can he become the Defensive Player of the Year? That'd be my question for Will Anderson. Can he be one of the best defensive players in all of football this year? I certainly believe he can, and so does Vegas. You look at the odds here. Aiden Hutchinson, Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, the only players with better odds amongst most of the sports books to be Defensive Player of the Year instead of Will Anderson. I mean, you think about the company that he's keeping here. Think about these 5 names surrounding him in this conversation. Aiden Hutchinson, one of the best young pass rushers in all of football, would have been the Defensive Player of the Year last year before he broke his leg. Micah Parsons, one of the best pass rushers in all of football. Myles Garrett, former Defensive Player of the Year, one of the best pass rushers. TJ Watt, Max. You see the names, like you certainly understand it. And Will Anderson, 11 sacks last year, close to a lot of the top sack guys. Anderson adds to that 11 sacks, continues to be an absolute demon when it comes to slowing down opposing rushing attacks. It just feels like the sky is the limit. And sooner rather than later, we're going to be having the conversation about Will Anderson being one of the best defensive players in all of football. The chances that he could be one of the best are there this year. Is it likely? I don't know that I would say it's likely. I certainly believe there's a possibility he gets into that echelon, stays in that echelon throughout the course of the season. It's possible. Likely, I don't know if I'd go there. You think about the jump that he need to make. Number one, stay healthy all season long. The ankle's given him a little bit of an issue a couple of different times. But if he's healthy for 17 games or 16 because you want to rest him ahead of the playoffs, he should put up big numbers, more than he did last year. He had 11 sacks. Maybe he goes to 14, 15 sacks. The quarterback pressure percentage, the quarterback pressures overall, those both go up. And now you're talking about one of the most disruptive forces in all of football. Defensive Player of the Year and defensive accolades lend themselves to defensive linemen, defensive ends. And so Will Anderson, he certainly plays the right spot. He's got a great running mate that can help him out in Danielle Hunter. And the thing about Anderson, I know Landry and I talked about this last week, who's better, Hunter or Anderson? The thing about Anderson, he feels like a very complete player, a total put-together defensive end. He stops teams from running the football, and, of course, he affects the passing game as well. Might even mix in a field goal block every now and then, too. So I say Will Anderson in the conversation this year, absolutely a possibility, and could find himself as a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. I think I made this comment either 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I'll be betting on Will Anderson to win Defensive Player of the Year every year until further notice. I'll be putting a small wager on Defensive Player of the Year for Will Anderson every year until further notice. So this year will be no different, as he has some pretty short odds compared to a year ago. I think it was like 20-1, 25-1. I think he started maybe the offseason like 40-1 and then kind of climbed up the ranks. So Will Anderson, what can he achieve this season? Maybe being one of the best defensive players in all of the league. Mike Roberts says 15 sacks and he should get it. Well, no, and he'll get his tackles for a loss. Absolutely. Absolutely. The TFLs are going to be there. And if the sacks are there on top of those TFLs, he's going to be in the conversation. Wags, he would need to consistently beat those double teams. That's the hope, with Danielle Hunter on the other side and getting a little bit of production out of the defensive tackles. The hope is he just doesn't see those that often. And by virtue of where he lines up as wide as he gets, sometimes he just beats guys and there's not an opportunity to double team him because of the way that he aligns and finds himself set up before a play even happens. JB Allen, the Annihilator, he thinks Will Anderson slept on a little bit nationally. I don't think that's going to last. If it is indeed true, and certainly names like Hutchinson and Parsons and Garrett and Watt and Crosby should be mentioned ahead of, or certainly with, Will Anderson, but I don't believe it's going to be very long for Will Anderson before the national people catch up. Trill Kick X, I'm ready to see the new Will Anderson Jr. moves. Yeah, he showcased one of them in an OTA practice, and it was like a stutter step. And again, I can't do it because it wouldn't do it justice, but he had a nice little stutter step on, I believe it was Blake Fisher, and no, it was Titus Howard. And Howard just went one way. Will Anderson went right to the quarterback. Would have been a bone-crushing sack for Will Anderson. Albert asks, what's the likelihood of a 20-sack season for Will Anderson? 20-sack seasons are tough, especially when you share with a guy like Danielle Hunter. So I would say low. If you got, if you could find a place to wager on his sacks and you had a good, nice value to a number, it's worth a wager. Andy says Will Anderson going to shut him up this year, no doubt. I don't know if there's many doubters left to Will Anderson. I feel like even some of the folks that question the draft pick have come around here 2 years later, trading up for it and things like that. Elijah says 15 sacks is the magic number. Mike says a bigger name with 18-plus sacks. It's Anderson's turn with 15-plus sacks. Yeah. And look, you've got a couple of DBs that are going to be challengers. I mean, obviously, Pat Surtain won the award last year. So, Kamari Lassiter, Derek Stingley on his own team is a guy that could take away some of the shine from Will Anderson. Danielle Hunter, not going to take shine away because I don't know that Hunter's ever quite the name that's going to get there. But, Myles Garrett was in the conversation last year at 14 sacks. Trey Hendrickson, he had nearly 18 sacks last year. He was in the conversation. If Micah Parsons has a big year, before getting paid or after getting paid, he'll certainly be there. TJ Watt, again, contract situation, contract year conversation with him. So the number, 15, that'd be number 2 last year. You add in what he brings to the table as a run stopper. That might have been enough if he'd added 4 to the total from last year. So 15 does feel like kind of a magic number. Yeah, Patrick describes Will Anderson perfectly. Will Anderson is a high floor, high ceiling type of guy. Yeah, as Mike notes, if you blitz a little bit, it's impossible to double team Will Anderson and not get your quarterback killed. I think he says 5v5, but yeah, and again, lining up as far out as he does, it prevents the opportunity to double team because then you open some things up for defensive tackles, things like that. So 2 of our 5 questions down for the day. Certainly appreciate the comments and the questions. We'll get through 25 questions about the 25 season for the Houston Texans this week. Question number 3. Let's go over to the offensive side of the ball. We talked about 2 big-time pieces for this Texans team over on defense. Let's go a little bit of a smaller contributor for the Texans over on offense. Will Cade Stover's evolution at tight end continue? So let's talk about what Cade Stover was able to put together last year. He was not a super impressive receiving tight end. And I don't know that many of us expected Stover to be a big-time receiving tight end right off of the bat. Stover has not been playing the tight end position that long, less than half a decade for Cade at this point at the position. And he was able to put together 15 catches for 133 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown coming in the start to the Tennessee Titans game later in the year, the one that matched up in Houston in the second half of the season. Had that touchdown. I think the most receptions he had in one game were 3. Stover was not a factor as a receiver, but D'Amico Ryans praising his ability at the top of his routes as a specific improvement for a player this past offseason is notable. He looks more fluid running routes than he did last year. It looked like there was still a lot of learning, and you got to remember, he played in a sometimes pro-style offense there in college, but still college, fine-tuning things at the tight end position. We talked about it with Lassiter. Tight end and cornerback, typically the position that is the toughest to make the jump from in college. And so Stover, not a big receiving threat. The Texans, he wasn't getting uncovered. The Texans didn't focus a lot on the tight ends. And so he wasn't a big receiving element. That should be better. It looks more fluid. It looks better already in OTAs and minicamp. But what I really want to focus and dial in on with Cade Stover in his 2024 season is something that could take a big jump and may need to take a jump in his evolution for 2025. Stover was asked to block quite a bit last year. And as a run blocker, he was pretty decent. He was the best rookie tight end at run blocking last year, according to Pro Football Focus. His 63 grade was the best amongst all rookie tight ends, and it was 22nd amongst all regularly playing and blocking tight ends in all football. So the 22nd best run blocker, and it makes sense, a guy with a defensive background, going and attacking, making things happen. And while it wasn't as smooth as it always could have been, there could have been a little bit more of a hole here, opening something up there. There's still something to really look at and build on from his run blocking in 2024. Now, the pass blocking, awful, terrible, no good, very bad, worst amongst qualified rookies, and he finished 82nd out of 83 regularly blocking tight ends in pass blocking. That pass block rating, 23.8, according to Pro Football Focus. Cade Stover was not a good pass blocker last year. Part of the reason he got put in that situation so often is because you needed to keep him in to help out the crappy offensive line. Hopefully the offensive line can win better, and hopefully Stover has gotten more used to what the NFL level of rushing is going to be, so that when he is asked to pass block, because remember, we don't want Dalton Schultz pass blocking out there. We don't want to see the team ask Dalton Schultz to pass block. We want to see different guys pass block. So Stover might be called upon to pass block from that tight end position. That has to be much better than 2024. That was one of the worst parts of the Texans, was Cade Stover's pass blocking. That's got to be much better. 82 amongst 83 qualified tight ends. I have a high belief in him because, one, I feel like the coaching staff is going to better utilize him. The growth that a player like Stover early in the tight end position, early in his NFL career should exude, should show, easy for me to say, in first year to second year, that should be there. And he's a capable run blocker, so it's not like you can't ever put him on the field. The pass blocking has to get much better. The receiving seemingly has gotten a little bit better, and the run blocking, plenty to build on. But Cade Stover's evolution as a tight end, we know he's going to be on the team. He's a fourth-round pick from last year. We know he's going to be on the team. We know he's going to be on the field. Let's see what he can do and give him the opportunities in 2025. What will his evolution look like? Will it continue? Certainly a question for the 2025 season. Mike Roberts with a comment on Cade. See Stover being a Ben Watson type of guy. Comes in, does his job, unspectacular, but good enough to help. Yeah, I think there's still some receiving aspect to help out with Stover. But yeah, run blocking and then kind of getting him the rock every now and then. Maybe certainly if your wide receivers are succeeding and there's a little bit extra attention there, Stover's peeking out over the middle, sneaking back behind that first line of defenders. There's something to be said for that. Elijah Turner, I think towards the end of the year, Kaylee will start to prefer Cade. Dalton plays like a diva wide receiver. I also like Brevin. Yeah, Brevin Jordan's usefulness is going to be interesting coming back from the knee injury. What does he bring to the table? Are the Texans going to use him in the same way that they used him leading into last year? That had D'Amico Ryans praising what Brevin Jordan was going to bring to the table in 2024. Trey of Texas, tight ends will get more catching opportunities. The wide receiver core turns out good, as we all hope. The changes they made, wide receivers make the Ds scramble, cover the tight ends. Running back will get good dump off chances. Certainly. Yeah, the safety valve of this passing attack. It ended up being, the unnecessary safety valve because of the pressure that CJ Stroud faced sometimes. But, actually getting through the progressions and being able to just dump it off to Cade Stover for a few yards, certainly could see how that would work for the Texans. JB the Annihilator, Stover better than Irv Smith as a pass blocker? No, probably not. That's the question, because I see Schultz, Jordan, and Smith's top three tight ends. JB, no faith in Cade Stover. Well, Stover blocks better as a run blocker than Irv, so that would, I think, be the tiebreaker in that situation. And Irv Smith, there's lots of Irv Smiths. I think there's still some unlocked, unpolished potential to Cade Stover. Next question, our 25 questions for the 25 season this week. 4 of 5 for the day. Who will play center? Who will be the center for the Houston Texans? And it felt like there was a lot of pressure on the center position in 2024 and certainly even in 2023. The offense and the style of offense, they talked about it a lot. They put a lot on the center. It was calling plays, calling protections, adjusting protections, helping out CJ Stroud. And a lot of what the center decided was how they operated. Now, Juice Scruggs told me last year that if CJ Stroud saw something and he changed it, CJ Stroud overruled everything. We know Stroud this year, coming into 2025, wants more control of the offense, perhaps less input from the centers, and with less need between the ears from the center, perhaps that opens up the type of center that you would want in there. Just a mauler, a guy that you could go in there and just trust to move guys out of the way, not have to worry too much about calling things out, seeing what the defense does. And it's worth noting, the Texans in those 2 years under Bobby Slowick didn't really trust veteran centers to do that. They were trusting young players to do that. They were trusting a rookie in Juice Scruggs, a rookie in Jarrett Patterson, and then a second-year Juice Scruggs who hadn't played center yet, and a second-year Jarrett Patterson for most of the year at center. That's who they were trusting, those type of players, to be a center that called a lot of things, helped things out, and then you kind of think back and you remember the Texans tried to get the 49ers center in free agency when DeMeco Ryans first came over. Ultimately, that guy stuck around with San Fran. It would have made sense to have a veteran. Ultimately, the Texans were pretty content with the rookies. And so they ultimately gave that job to the rookies. I don't know that it went very well. It did feel like sometimes the protections were off, incorrect. And so who's going to play center this year? Well, Jackson Andrews. I will get Jake Andrews' name right one day. Jake Andrews has snapped the ball to CJ Stroud and the first quarterback out there most of OTAs and minicamp. And Andrews has not played hardly at all in the NFL. 70 snaps to his name in New England 2 years ago. This past season, he was on the injured reserve for the entirety of the season, but he played center, played it pretty well actually, in college for Cole Popovich when Cole Popovich was the offensive line coach at Troy. Of course, Popovich is now the offensive line coach for the Houston Texans. And Jake Andrews, claimed off of waivers, has gotten the opportunity to sort of cement himself there at that center position. So who are the challengers for Andrews? Well, there's not really any veteran successful challengers nipping at his heels. It's Jarrett Patterson, it's Juice Scruggs, and it's undrafted free agent rookie Eli Cox. It's a free-for-all of unproven center opportunity. Who's going to play center? I can't tell you definitively who it's going to be right now. I can only judge on what we've seen in OTAs and minicamp, and that's just a little bit of what the offensive line job is. But the earth mover is going to be the guy that gets the opportunity. The player that can displace people is going to be the guy that they choose. The smarts, a little bit less necessary than they have been over the past couple of seasons, and that may be difficult for a guy like Jarrett Patterson, who's not known as an earth mover in the run game. He was more of a pass blocker. It might be difficult for Juice Scruggs, a guy who hasn't had a lot of success either at guard or center in his NFL career. So Jake Andrews, he's got the inside track. He's got the lead right now. It's not a big lead because we haven't seen any sort of real offensive line performance yet, and they haven't put the pads on. But first day of pads, I'll be looking at that interior, and I'll be looking at that center spot to see exactly who's going to play at center. So I say Jake Andrews right now. We'll see if ultimately it is Andrews when the season gets here. Might be a veteran name that pops up out there that's available via somebody getting cut in training camp. Nick Caserio's not afraid to shuttle off a late-round pick for a trade. So you never know. But as it stands right now, I'd say Andrews with Patterson backing him up, and Juice Scruggs he's struggling to stay around. Wags has a super chat. He wants to know, or says exactly, actually. I believe he gets more reps and targets, speaking about Cade Stover, because he'll be on the field more as a blocker and traditional Y tight end. Wags talking about Cade Stover. Yeah, there should be more opportunities for Stover. Saw a little bit in OTAs and minicamp, him on the field with some of the Nico Collins, Christian Kirk alignments, and I'll be interested to see if the pass blocking is better. You can put him on the field and trust him a little bit more. We know we don't want Dalton Schultz pass blocking. So if Cade Stover's pass blocking is better, you can trust him, there's more opportunities for him. And certainly if you can trust him in the receiving game, that just helps get him on the field even more. Appreciate the super chat there, Wags. Trey of Texas says we need an O-line for dummies Cliff Notes. Yeah, as he notes, even if Andrews is the guy, and then he's going to need to stay healthy coming off of a year where he was injured. Wags asks, who's the most natural experienced center? Patterson? It feels like he's the most experienced and natural one amongst them because that's what he played in college, and then ultimately that's what he's primarily played in the NFL. Jake Andrews played a little bit at guard for the Patriots, obviously played center his final year in college, but Patterson has more center snaps, it feels like, certainly when you factor in the NFL aspect of it, than anybody else on the roster right now. And yeah, they are probably still looking at that elusive center, somebody just come in and lock it down. Perhaps Andrews can be that guy. So we talked about the defense, two standout studs on defense, and the defense is loaded with them. We talked about the offense, two smaller pieces on the offense. 25 questions for the 25 season this week. Let's go to the special teams. Will Kaimi make his kicks? Will the Texans be able to rely on Kaimi Fairbairn in 2025? Now, some of the misses last year were due to unfortunate situations or just long kicks. For instance, I'm not going to hold 56 yards in New York against Kaimi Fairbairn. I'm not going to hold 58 yards at home against Kaimi Fairbairn. Okay, but I am going to hold 55 and inside against Kaimi Fairbairn. I am going to hold extra point misses against Kaimi Fairbairn. Just last year, looking at some of the key moments, key points, key pieces of the situation, he missed a 27-yarder against the New York Jets late in the game. That just kind of took the wind out of the sails for the team and kept them from coming back. He also, as I said 58-yarder, I meant 56-yarder. He also missed a 56-yarder right before halftime, kept them scoreless in the first half. You know what they were ultimately trying to get when they had that 27-yard one? They're trying to get within one score because then you get the ball back and then he scored a touchdown against the Jets. He had a 28-yard field goal miss against Tennessee when the game was close. You can't miss that. You can't miss that. He had a 35-yarder blocked against the Kansas City Chiefs. He missed a 55-yarder against the Kansas City Chiefs. He also missed an extra point against the Kansas City Chiefs. Will Kaimi Fairbairn make his kicks? Well, if it's 53 and in and it's indoors, I feel pretty good about it. Luckily for the Texans, as you look at the back half of this schedule, you shouldn't have too many terrible weather situations that you have to deal with. At Seattle in October, it could be bad weather, but it's not terrible weather. At Tennessee in the middle of November, cold, but not freeze your behind off cold. At Indianapolis, that's a dome. Of course, he missed an extra point and damn near cost the Texans the AFC South championship in 2023, so you can't just call him automatic from that standpoint. Kansas City, early December, it's going to be cold. I wouldn't kick from greater than 50 with Kaimi in that situation. Thankfully, LA is a pseudo indoor-outdoor stadium. It's indoor with like a breeze, but it's December in LA, so it's not going to be that tough. The weather situation in the regular season should not be an issue for Kaimi Fairbairn, but when you think about where he may need to go in the playoffs, January in Kansas City, January in Baltimore, January in Buffalo, if the Texans have to go on the road in the playoffs, you don't feel confident in Kaimi Fairbairn. And the only thing he can do to instill that confidence is go in there and make kicks in cold weather, which he didn't do very well last year. Go in there, make kicks in cold weather, and hopefully, as I talked about many times here this offseason, you're not kicking as many field goals. Hopefully the offense is scoring more touchdowns, so you don't have to kick as many field goals. Now, of course, he missed the extra point and took a lot of the wind out of the sails for the Texans in the playoff game, but hopefully you don't have to worry as much about field goals. This Texans team, because of the offense in 2024, you lived on the edge when it came to the scoring because you had such a hard time, not only in the red zone, But ultimately, overall, just scoring as an offense, you had such a hard time. Because you had such a hard time, field goals mattered a lot more. It was more difficult to rely on the offense, so the field goals were more important. If you could lower the importance of Kaimi Fairbairn because you know you can trust your offense, that'd go a long way. Ultimately, you're going to have to score touchdowns to beat the teams that you want to beat, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens. Kaimi Fairbairn hopefully doesn't end up being a factor. And if he does, hopefully he makes his kicks. Will Kaimi Fairbairn make his kicks in 2025? Certainly hope so. Nick Jones says, I have no faith in Kaimi anymore after the KC playoff game. We need to be able to compete in the cold if we want a shot at the championship. Yeah, just make everything go make everything go through Houston, and you won't have to worry about the cold in Kansas City. Mike Roberts says, I want to say I have faith in him, but kickers are weird. Are there any USFL kickers banging 60-yarders we can sign? Well, here's the thing. Again, it's financially irresponsible to get rid of Kaimi. So he's with the contract, the situation that it is, he's kind of locked in. And as bad as Kaimi was, there's not a lot of free agents that are available that are way better than Kaimi. So it's up to just Kaimi. He's got to do it. He's got to make the kicks here in 2025. Trey of Texas. As long as Kaimi's the kicker and you want to go to the Super Bowl, you have two choices. Score TDs like you made, or make sure you get home field in the playoffs because KC, Baltimore, Buffalo in January equals no confidence in Kaimi. Yep. Certainly. And then Trey wants all NFL stadiums to be required with a retractable roof. JB would have brought in competition for Kaimi. I mean, look, again, financially, it cost you money to get rid of him. So he wasn't going anywhere. So, yeah, you can bring in competition. I'll say this. For whatever it is, OTAs, minicamp, he missed a 60-yarder, 58-yarder, 60-yarder, but he hit everything else that I saw on OTAs and minicamp. So that's what I'll say about Kaimi, and we'll track him in training camp, and it'll be hot, and he'll like the weather, and he'll be comfortable, and then we'll see in December when he goes to Kansas City. We'll see in January if they have to go to Kansas City or Buffalo or Baltimore. But it's going to be Kaimi. There's not any challenger for him. It's nobody else. It's going to be just Kaimi. So those are our first 5 questions in the 25 questions for the 2025 season this week here on SNL. You got me all week with Landry on vacation this week. So let me know what you think about these 5 questions. Feel free to answer those 5 questions if you're watching this after the fact in the comment section down below. We're always active in the comment section. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, watching the video. SNL still live for you each and every weekday at 4 p.m. So you don't want to miss out on any of that. Landry would tell you, no matter if you trust Kaimi Fairbairn or you don't trust Kaimi Fairbairn, or you want them to just score freaking touchdowns like I do, we're all in this together. And I would remind you to eat good, sleep good, be good. And we'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Happy Monday. Hope your week's been off to a great start. 20 more questions about the 25 season headed your way this week here on SNL. Appreciate you for watching the video.